1 second. I'm trying to get this to work, so you have to give me a minute, because this is the first time I've done this, so you can't compare me to all the other YouTubers who's been doing it for ages. So I can't guarantee, I don't even know if you can hear me at the moment, and I can't see any comments, so wish me luck. I'm trying to do this in a really convoluted way, where I am doing it through my laptop, well, through my phone, but also through my laptop at the same time. So I'm basically going to be watching myself on the screen so that I can see if there's any comments. At the moment, I don't even know if anyone's watching. Apparently 16 people are watching, that's good. But let me just, give me 1 second. You'd think that I would have done this in advance. Right, sound's off. That's fine. Right. There's a slight delay, which is really annoying. I can start seeing the comments now. So I see Gabe's here. Gabe, you've seen me live in person, so it doesn't count. And Nasty Nemo's here. As this is just very much a trial at the moment. So where I'm in the UK, I'm from. I am not far from Brighton. So yeah. See, on my screen, it's let's just say on my screen it's frozen. So if you can still see me, let me know. This is going to be the worst live stream you've ever seen. But I just thought that I've never been able to do this before because my internet's always been terrible. Whereas obviously now I'm in the new place. And yeah, so I have a fancy internet, which I got specifically for the channel. Favourite kind of angelfish? Oh, it's got to be a regal angel, because obviously I've got one. So if it wasn't a regal angelfish, I quite like, I've always been a big fan of emperors. I've actually had an emperor before, but it decided to eat my coral. So, but that was a long time ago. That was probably 9 years ago now. So I've been in the hobby that long. But yeah, I made the mistake. I bought a tiny juvenile emperor angelfish, and it was fine with everything except mushrooms. But at the time, my tank was literally full of mushrooms. This was before they were like cool, so they were mainly just like green and blue and the common mushrooms. But yeah, favorite tang. Are you going to ask me my? Oh, everyone's going to ask my favorite fish. Favorite tang. Any of the zebrazomas. I've always been a big fan of the zebrasoma tangs, which obviously are the purple scopass, yellow, black gem, and the two sailfins are the main ones. Koi tangs it's a bit ambiguous with regards to what they are, but I don't think I'll ever own a koi tang. But then again, I didn't think I'd ever own a gem tang, so you never know. The person who basically helped me get the gem tang is in the chat right now. So if everyone wants to say thank you to Nasty Nemo, he's the one who helped me get it. At the moment, I do have a gem tang still. The person who was buying her, he had a tank crash basically. So I've still got her. I don't, however, have a TV, which is one of the reasons I'm here, because I thought, like, why not get you guys to keep me entertained? So if you've got any questions, by all means, go for it. I don't know how long I'll be here for, because to have my earphones in so you can hear me, I can't have the iPhone plugged in, which means it will basically, at some point in time, my iPhone might just turn off. So if I disappear, that's the reason why. Pablo's still doing well. Pablo's doing really well still. I unfortunately, so you're going to get some gossip now. I don't have Jeeves the cowfish anymore. If It will be in my next update, but unfortunately, it was a bit of a strange event. He got stuck between the power head and the glass, so he wasn't actually in the power head. And they have like two horns pointing forward and two horns pointing backwards, and for whatever reason, his horns were like perfectly wedged between the two, and although he survived that incident, it appeared to have broken his tail. So, and I was hand feeding him for several weeks, but unfortunately, in the end, he didn't make it, which is a shame because you don't get cowfish which do well, and he was doing really well for a long time. So, what's the biggest fish you've owned ever or now? Ever. I once had. Well, it depends really. In terms of mass, it was probably a sailfin tang. I had one that was probably just under a foot at one point, and then. Although the longest fish I ever owned would have been probably a bird wrasse, which was again back when I very first started. You do these crazy things when you first start. You get all these pufferfish and lionfish, and then you realise that they're too restrictive with regards to what else you can keep. So you basically sell them all, and then eventually most people generally end up with a reef tank. When are you going to set up again? Technically, my main tank is still running. I go back and see it every day for about 3 minutes. The new tank hopefully will be starting this weekend. It's there, but I don't want to change the camera because it took me so long to get this set up, and because I do things sort of half-assed, the camera is basically sellotaped on. So if Aaron's Aquarium watches this, he will, because he does everything properly. He's like, he's been doing this for years. So would you ever keep freshwater fish? Originally, the fish that actually got me into the hobby was a freshwater fish tank. So what happened was when I was 17, I had a girlfriend, and her brother had a freshwater tank, and he didn't look after it. So bit by bit, I started to first just clean the glass, and then I started to maintain it a little bit more and do the water changes, and then I would go out and buy fish and put fish in his tank because I was never allowed one. So because I was there most evenings, as I'm sure you can imagine any 17-year-old boy with a girlfriend, because I was there most evenings, I basically would maintain his tank. So, and it almost eventually became mine. When we stopped seeing each other, it was quite sad because I loved that tank. And then eventually, I obviously, it would have been a year later, I got my first marine tank. But other than that, I never actually have had a freshwater tank myself. But would I have one? Yes. I have considered a planted tank many times. Apparently, they are just as difficult as a marine tank. I'm not sure I have the artistic flair for for creating something that special just yet, but because they make some crazy aquascapes. So hopefully one day I will get there and have one. So where's the next one? Would I be able to keep a spotted boxfish in a 120-gallon tank? Look, boxfish start small. I've had Pablo for 4 years now. He has probably grown no more than an inch in 4 years. They do get to a small football size. For whatever reason, you don't see them like that in captivity very often unless they were caught that size. But people don't catch them that size because of how much room they need and because they're relatively low value. So would you be able to have one in there? Yes. Would you be able to have it in there in 10 years' time? It all depends on varying factors. So, would I encourage you to get a boxfish? No. One of the problems with having this channel is that people see what I do and what I have, and then they send me messages saying, I bought a boxfish because I saw you have one. The problem with that is that boxfish aren't for everyone. So, and they don't have a particularly high survival rate in captivity. So do I encourage anyone to get one? It's one of the things I often steer people away from. So if you haven't seen my video on boxfish, go watch it. Look, at the end of it, I repeat basically what I'm saying now. I don't believe that people should get them. Did I get one before I knew how bad they were? To some extent. Pablo would have been my only impulse buy. I didn't buy him for me. I bought him for someone else, and I haven't regretted it since. But I could very easily have regretted it. So how's the fish room going? The fish room is not going as well as I hoped it would be going, because at the moment, the builder who was meant to come and do all the PVC like walls, because I want it to look professional basically, because I'm advertising my coral basic, and if it's like a sort of a rundown like tanks all put together where it just looks like it's all cobbled together, what's prestige about that? Why would someone want my corals any more than someone else's? So I'm trying to do it really professionally with quarantine and all sorts of dips, and you'll see as it goes along. You'll get to see the the builder said to me I got a text message on Saturday saying that he overslept, and that text message came at 1 p.m. So that was quite the oversleep, and he promised me he would be here on Sunday, and then he never turned up. So the fish room is exactly the same position as to where I did the video last time. How much has it cost me so far? When I said it was a ton, it's cost me £3,000 so far to get things the materials and the labour so far has cost me £3,000, but the floor hasn't been done, but that's included in that cost. So basically, to get the room into a condition where it's going to be tank worthy, where it's insulated, the walls, the floor's insulated, it's 3,000. That doesn't include the ventilation system, which is going to be another probably 1,000 to 2,000. But it's what was my old job? I work for, fortunately, an air conditioning ventilation company. So it's not my old job. I still have that job. I can't leave one job before I have basically sorted out the next. Going back to your question, Carl, do I need any licenses? You don't need any licenses here to sell coral. If I wanted to sell fish, I would need to have a pet shop license. Will I go down the pet shop license route eventually? Probably not. I'm very specific that I prefer coral basically. If I do get back into breeding fish, it'll be on when I get back into breeding fish, because it will happen eventually. It will be on a very, very small scale. So it's unlikely that a pet shop license would be required. Because normally with all my tank bred fish before, I basically gave every single one of them to friends for free, purely because I wanted to go back and see them and how they developed. So they went to friends and fish shops. Can I ask how you are? I'm doing all right, Gabe. Thank you for asking. I know obviously we spoke at Magna, and yeah, I'm doing all right. Everyone goes through ups and downs, but I'm doing all right at the moment. That evening, do you have to have an import license due to Brexit? Well, Brexit hasn't happened yet. I have no doubt that it will happen eventually. I don't know the effect of what will happen. But Brexit only affects buying corals from Europe, which obviously I buy quite a lot of my corals from Europe these days. So will it affect that? Yes, it definitely 100% will affect my ability to buy corals from Europe. Does that mean the corals I have from Europe will be worth more money? Yeah, technically. So it's like swings and roundabouts. But as with everything in life, very generally, things are okay. So I am expecting that one way or another, things will end up okay. Are we going to get more live streamings now you have better internet? Well, if I get a bit more professional about it, then maybe. I was actually going to do this yesterday, but I had a call from Mindy at exactly the time I was meant to do it. And you know, priorities. You know, I know who is more important. It's like, you know, her or you guys. So it was an obvious choice for me. When am I seeing Mindy again? That is up for debate at the moment. Obviously, it's very expensive for us to see each other because I either have to fly there or she has to come here. So, with regards to when we'll next see each other, at this moment in time, your guess is as good as mine. But I called her just before I came on here, but she was talking to someone. So, you know, apparently I'm not high priority. But yes, so what is my favourite coral of all time? Coral is, I don't think you can have a favourite coral of all time because what usually happens is people start at a set level, and for example with soft corals, and then they move up. So at one point in time, I absolutely loved mushrooms. They were when I very first started, and remember, I didn't have coral for 2 years after starting, or roughly 2 years. Mushrooms were my thing. I wanted every single type of mushroom. This was before there were bounce mushrooms, or St. Thomas mushrooms, or electus, or jawbreakers. This was just normal mushrooms, and I love them. And somewhere on my Facebook, you will see that I had a mountain of all different types of mushrooms, and it literally was a mountain. What I didn't realize at the time is that I had mixed discosoma mushrooms, which are things like obviously jawbreakers, and they're like the smooth mushrooms, and redactus mushrooms, which are the sort of the furry green mushrooms. Now, although they can live together temporarily, one of them usually outcompetes the other. So eventually my whole mushroom mountain of what I thought at the time was expensive coral, because when you're 18, spending £30 or $40 on a coral was a lot of money, and to some extent it's still a lot of money now. But it's so when I very first started, mushrooms were just my thing. And then after a period of time, you go, actually, I don't want mushrooms anymore. So you change and you go, right, I'm going to start keeping torch corals. So at one point I had a tank just full of euphyllia. So obviously, torch corals, frog spawn, hammerheads. I only ever actually had one hammerhead, but I'm not sure what reason that was. But hammerheads just never did it for me. I now have a hybrid, or I was told it was a hybrid, which will be going in the Red Sea tank, which again came from Nasty Nemo. I don't know if he's still here, but he, when I met him at one of the meets, he very kindly, well, we swapped corals actually. I gave him a Sophastra and he gave me that, and it's still doing well. And it's really interesting because it's sort of like a splatter effect. So it's not like the polyps are all different colour. Some of them are tan, some of them are green, and some of them are a mixture of the two. And the polyps themselves, some of them are round and some of them are like hammers. So it really is quite a unique piece. What I'm planning to do with the Red Sea tank is to have quite sort of unusual, not necessarily unusual, but some of the more like specialist corals in there. I've got a collection for the website which I'm growing out, so things like bounce mushrooms and stuff like that. So what I've done is I have, say with a bounce mushroom, I fragged it into two, and then one half of that I have put aside, and that is my piece, and that piece is not being fragged. And on the other half of it, it has then grown, and then I've fragged it, and then grown, and I've fragged it again. So every single piece of coral, which eventually will be for sale on the website, I've taken a piece for myself, and I've taken a piece for what will be the farm, basically. So, because otherwise, if you just keep fragging everything, nothing ever grows. And you've seen my tank. Some of the myconies are huge now. The tank actually is, at the moment, people often say, why don't we see your tank so much anymore? It is out of control. There's been a lot of stuff going on with getting the house and work and setting up the fish room and obviously the new tank and going to America. So I have let it hasn't, well, it's doing too well. The corals, especially my Stylophora, has just gone crazy. And usually I would frag it constantly every month or every couple of weeks. But it's now starting to shade out some of my other corals. But when you know that the tank's going to be shut down soon, you just think, is there anything? You lose a little bit of interest. You don't lose interest. You just get distracted, same as everyone else. And the other issue is that because it's summer, I'm sure many of your tanks will have been put slightly back. They're not at the forefront of your mind. But now that it's going into winter, they go back to your top priority again because obviously they're inside. So that was a long answer. Let me have a quick look at where do we get to. I've got a mainly soft coral reef tank. I normally dose 6 grams of KH a week, just to put the tank. Now that's make it stable for a year. Never had. It's sorry, 1 second. Some of my things going crazy again. I need to do this. I need to get like a proper laptop. I have the worst laptop ever. To dose, I do weekly wall changes of 10%. It's normally. The other thing you have to realize is that I struggle a little bit. I can read. I just read very slowly, and the words move around. So I'm not. That was the thing I was most nervous about, the chat, because I didn't. As I said, look. You get used to it. So it's something a little bit personal to me, but now that you all know, I'm sure none of you care that I can't read. I got a nice fish tank, so what matters? Can you give anything away about the fish room? As far as I'm concerned, I've given basically everything away about the fish room. I've shown you the plans. I've shown you some of the pipe work. I've shown you the walls. The floor is just going to be basically rubber mats. It's the RO unit is going to be automated, so it's going to have a float valve on it, so that it's always topped up. I'm going to have an auto top up into the tanks, so that makes the auto top up easier. The protein skimmers are going to be drilled through the wall and go down into a drain, so that they're easy to empty. It's not, there's still be a valve on it, so if they do overflow, it doesn't just drain the tank. I'm going to have a tank underneath, which is connected to all the other main tanks, and it's going to have valves on it. So when I turn the valve, both valves, it will isolate the tank. Then I'm going to turn another valve, which will drain that tank down automatically into, down the drain. And then I'm going to have, be able to put salt into that tank, add RO water into that tank via a pump, turn it on, and then basically once it's mixed, undo the valves, and I've done a water change. So it can't be easier than that. Where's the glass of wine? I don't have any wine at the moment. I seriously considered a glass of whiskey, but you know, it's Tuesday. You can't have a glass of whiskey on Tuesday. So, you know, I'm being boring today. I got water or vodka. How much food do you give your fish? How many times a day do you feed? And the variety of food. Every day, my fish get 2 cubes of mysis. They get a sheet of nori, and they get a selection of pellets. So the big fish have the big pellets, and the smaller fish get small pellets. The gem tang lives pretty much exclusively off small pellets, and the other thing, and nori basically. So they're the two things that keep her they're the two things that keep her happy. She is an absolute princess. She is the only Zebrazoma tang, the only one that I have ever kept that will not eat algae. Like, none of it. If I give it to her, like prepared algae, nori, she's fine. But she will not, there's like little tiny bits of hair algae or whatever in my sump, because obviously it's lit, because that's where a lot of the corals are. She will not touch it. She won't go anywhere near it. I even tried not feeding her for a day to see if it would show her, if she'd show any interest in it, but she just has no interest because she is a little princess. She only eats the finest quality pellets. So, is selling coral online more profitable than owning a storefront? I have never owned a store, so I have no idea. For me, it's worked out on a small scale because obviously I can work, then during my lunch break, I can come home, put the corals in, send them out, and then it's like a little bit of extra income. It's partly is what's funding the build. Hopefully it'll be profitable. I don't know. On a small scale, with just doing it out of your fish tank, it for me it's worked okay. The difference between sort of me and say if someone else wanted to do it is that I have obviously I have a reasonably large following. And someone once said to me, growing corals is the easy part. Selling them is the difficult bit. So it's, especially as some of my corals are quite high end, so there's only a very select group of people that want to spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on a coral. But then again, you only need to sell 1 or 2 of those a month to especially while I'm working as well, to have a really good time. But unfortunately, I'm not selling 1 or 2 of those a month. I've sold a couple of the more expensive pieces, which is good. Gabe, thank you very much for using the super chat. I just realised drink means go and get myself a proper drink, not have a glass of water. So maybe I will do, the next time I do a live stream, I will do it on a Saturday. And although Aaron's Aquarium, Michael is quite a good friend of mine. We talk reasonably frequently. And one of the things he always said to me, never ever do, never have a drink while on live stream. Now, when Mindy and I did a live stream, we both drank and we had a great time. I mean, by the end of it, the conversation was slightly more slurred. But I think if it's on a Saturday, it's not too bad. So, but on a Tuesday, I'm not sure anyone's ready for that. How do you plan to stand out from the crowd when your store is set up? How do I plan to stand out? One of the ways that I already am standing out is, as I said, I have it's quite a rare selection of coral, and because I spent like 11 years growing it and buying it and trading it and things like that, I have over, I think, 100. I counted once. I think it's like 130 different species, and I think on the website there's about 30. So there's still another 100 different fraggable species that could go on the website. For example, I have an Electus mushroom, which none of you have seen, and it's in a little pot with the jawbreaker mushroom. And one of them, I don't know who it is, one of them has had a little baby. So I now have a little tiny, like probably this big mushroom, and I'm trying to, work out who the daddy is, because if it's an Electus, then brilliant, because Electus mushrooms are very, very rare over here. If it's a jawbreaker, it's still worth plenty. But the day I saw that, I was over the moon. It was like something had laid a golden egg. So, when they're small, they grow really, really quite quickly. So it's doubled in size since I found it. I will post a picture on my Instagram at some point. And then you can. I have a feeling it's the Electus, but until it sort of starts to get a little bit bigger, it's difficult to tell. Then again, jawbreakers don't get their red for a long time. I'm starting to see a little bit of red on it. I don't know how Electus mushrooms work, so I can't say for sure. Nasty Nemo, did I not sell the gem tang? The gem tang was reserved by someone, and they put down a deposit, and then they had a tank crash, which to some extent is good. So it's good that I still have the gem tang, not that they had a tank crash. That's definitely not what I was trying to say. But I've given the deposit back because he is not in a particularly good place at the moment with his tank. He's not sure if what he's going to do, and and I don't want to keep anyone's money. I don't want to keep anyone's money if they're not getting what they want. So technically at the moment, I still have it. I am toying with the idea because at the moment I don't have a TV. I literally don't have a TV. So in my mind, I'm thinking, do I keep the gem tang and don't buy a TV? Or do I buy a TV which I like never watch anyway, just so that the room looks like because obviously a living room looks strange without a TV. So, and the other thing in my video, I actually got a loan to do the fish room. So will I sell her? I don't know. I don't know. It's I said maybe it was fate that she didn't go, because she could very easily have gone. What one coral would you never want to keep? There's quite a lot of corals that I don't particularly want to keep. Anything that really doesn't do well. There's certain soft corals. I can't even tell you the name of them if I'm honest. They're really nice. They're like a bright blue color. I'm sure it begins with N, not N. But the name escapes me at the moment. Any other corals which I wouldn't like to keep? Most of the non-photosynthetic corals, I don't want the high maintenance of lots of water changes, heavy feeding. I mean, I heavy feed anyway, but you have to feed several times a day to keep those sorts of things happy. I've never had any interest in sun corals for that reason. I know lots of you have success not feeding your sun corals, but I like to keep things relatively easy. Just have 2 clownfish and 1 torch coral. Still recommending feeding every other day. Is that right? That is, well, I don't recommend feeding every other day. I'm a heavy feeder. If you're a beginner, it will potentially help you. Clownfish won't be harmed by feeding every other day. My question to you is, do you want to be fed every other day? Because if you don't want to be fed every other day, then they probably don't want to be fed every other day either. And all you have to do is just half the feeding. So if you're feeding, 1 cube of mysis, which is a lot for 2 clownfish, just feed half a cube of mysis. Or if you're feeding 10 pellets, feed 5. But I strongly recommend that you feed every day. But if they've said that to you because you're reasonably new to the hobby, it might be because they're trying to slow down the rate of which things could go wrong. But torch corals as well will benefit from, they prefer slightly dirtier water than, say, an SPS coral. Not necessarily dirty, higher nutrient water is a better way of putting it. I accidentally ate a zoa last week, still feeling dizzy. Should I go to hospital? If you accidentally ate a zoa, then I don't think the zoa is what your problem is. And you might want to go to hospital for a different reason. But if you genuinely accidentally ate a zoa and you're slightly dizzy, but you're not, deceased, then you probably will be okay. Next time, that's for after. I just got a Neptune Trident Monday and would definitely recommend one. I would love a Neptune Trident. I'm not sure when or even if they will come over here. I assume at some point they will come over here, but there's no word on when they will. I don't even have an Apex yet. I would love to have an Apex, and I'm sure at some point I will for the fish room, because obviously it's far more important that everything is monitored absolutely perfectly when so much money's gone into it. The other thing that at some point I will probably be getting is one of the Reef Kinetic water testers. Aaron's Aquarium said it's brilliant. A few other people said to me it's brilliant. So if they're as brilliant as everyone says they are, because my idea is if I get one and put it on the SPS tank in the fish room, and then I get a dosing pump which can be controlled remotely, which I believe the new Ecotech pump can be controlled remotely, then the test results will come to my phone. It might say you're slightly down on, say, KH, for example, and then you get your dosing pump to increase the KH, and it's like, what more can you want? You can literally control it from home. Gem tank seems obvious over TV. I agree. That's why that's why I've lasted. How long have I been here now? I think I've been in this house a month, and as I said, I don't have a TV. So you need Skittles mushrooms. I get the feeling, Nasty Nemo, that I know someone who will have a Skittles mushroom when I want one. So I will definitely be coming to you when things are up and running. I'm not sure I'm willing to trade you a bounce mushroom for it, but there might be some negotiation. Are you coming to Coral Freaks? Yes, I have a ticket for Coral Freaks. I'm looking forward to it because it'll be interesting to see what... It's only going to be a very small scale in comparison to some of the shows that are in America, but it'll be interesting to see if any of the American influence, like how Americans do it and how we do it, will be very, very different, I imagine, because Americans, they go all out. Now, obviously, thousands of people go to those events and there's huge amounts of money and they're also very profitable, whereas this one is being put on by a local fish shop at their own expense. So it's not going to be anywhere near, it's not going to be anything like Macna or anything like that, but Macna started somewhere, and this could be our Macna. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to supporting it. I should be doing a video and documenting it. It's quite difficult to do videos on shows if depending on what there is to show, basically, because if it's a room full of people, it's far more difficult than to show people new products and stuff like that. So I should be doing a video. What video I'll be doing or what that video will turn out like, I don't know yet. So you need to do an official meetup when you go live with the fish room. What? Invite everyone over to my house? Put an invitation out to 33,000 people. I get a feeling at least some of you will turn up. I might do a small scale meetup for people like I know some of my Patreons are in the UK and they're not very far. People that have already supported the website and bought corals and things like that. I might just do a small scale meetup at first just to see how it goes, and then after that, if it goes well, I might intermittently have I might say maybe once every 6 months or something, invite a select group of people over, possibly. I'm not making any promises. I don't like to make promises I can't keep. But it very much, obviously I'll be inviting people over, many people I've never met before over to my house. So if you think about it from your perspective, do you want like 15, 20 people coming over to your house? But we shall see. Hopefully it will be something really quite special. And I definitely will be at some point inviting people over individually rather than having a big meetup. Especially people like Nasty Nemo. If you don't follow Nasty Nemo, go and follow his channel. Not yet. Don't leave now. Remember, because you know, we're watching your favorite YouTuber at the moment. Actually, that's probably not true. Aaron's Aquarium is my favorite YouTuber. Actually, or inappropriate. I quite like inappropriate. But yeah, some people will come over. Will be invited over. So yeah. Would you consider doing videos where you come help out viewers? Come to their house and tell them where they're going wrong? Would I want to be telling people where they're going wrong with their reef tanks? Reef tanks are very personal to people. So if would I mean, it's an interesting idea. Do you know what I did do the other day, which was it was quite a foreign concept to me. Someone messaged me asking to buy corals, and they said they wanted to spend £100 on SPS corals. So I started to have a conversation with the guy, and it turns out that his tank was reasonably new. It had only been running for a month. So immediately I said to him, "Look, I don't particularly want to." I did have a conversation with him to see where his knowledge level was at, and he really was like a beginner. So I said to him, look, I don't want to sell you £100 worth of coral because the chances are in a month or two it won't be alive anymore. So, and then he told me a few issues he was having with the tank, and it turns out he only lived 15 minutes away. So one of the people that followed the channel 15 minutes later had me turn up at their house to go and test all their water, to go through all their livestock, to all their corals, and everything. And I went through all the equipment and all the stuff that the shops had sold them, which was basically like not worth doing. They had some really, really random products, which were probably products which had been on the shelf for a long time that they went, let's sell to this person. And it was quite a surreal thing. I have no idea why I went, because I'm not sure what urged me to get up from my seat and travel to someone's house to do that. I just think I remember being at that stage where I had problems and I didn't know what to do. So it was nice. It was nice to be able to help someone, and to reassure them, and also to give them a bit of advice with regards to slowing down. But it was I'm not sure a lot of people would do that, and I think more people should do it. So if there's people out there that you can help, like, try and remember this, because helping each other in this hobby and being nice to each other. I always try to tell people, be nice to each other. You will rarely see me post on any forum or any Facebook page or anything, because I'm there. I don't want to get involved. Like, you get too many people. There are so many different ways to do this hobby. I have been running the balling light system for years, and it works fine. And some of my friends run Triton, and it works fine. And some of them will use Aquaforest or Red Sea or thing. And there are so many ways that you can have success with this hobby. Some people have protein skimmers, some people don't have protein skimmers, some people do water changes, some people don't. So, as I've said many times before, be open-minded, because something I learned from Mindy actually was that my tanks always had the nutrients absolutely stripped down, so they were so, not gone, but very, very low. Now, Mindy's nutrients on her tank were slightly higher than mine. And what I was surprised was that some of her SPS corals were colouring up much, much better than mine. And I think, whereas mine was sort of slightly pale. Now, they were growing, but they didn't look like hers. And I just thought, I wonder what would happen if I increased the nutrient levels slightly. And I did. And then the corals became more vibrant. So never think that you can't learn something. And it doesn't matter who it is. Mindy hasn't been doing it as long as I have. Technically, Mindy's been doing it since she was 7, but she hasn't had this tank set up as long as I have. But never think you can't learn from someone, because I can assure you, almost everyone you meet that has been in the hobby for a year probably knows something that you don't. I just want to say massive thank you. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm going to say Sovsborg for the super chat. He says, my hammer coral looks pale under white light, although the tips are light green. Is this normal? That question is slightly hard to answer, because you get pale frog spawn corals, you get vibrant frog spawn corals. What I've noticed with my frog spawn, because my frog spawn's so large now, it literally is, probably be getting on for about, it's over a foot. The bottom half of the coral is much darker, and the top half is much lighter. So there's a possibility that if it's looking pale, that it might be from too much light. Having said that, as I said, it all depends on what sort of hammer coral that you have, and how it's expected to look. If it's growing, and white light makes all corals look more pale. White light the corals that we have in our tanks look nothing like they do in the ocean. I can assure you. If you put your lights on pretty much all white, that's what they look like in the ocean. So a lot of the effect that we have, the visual effect that we create is from the lighting we choose. So if it's growing and healthy and it looks happy, then there shouldn't be an issue. If you are concerned and it's not opening up as much as it could, perhaps lower it down slightly, because that can be what causes slightly paler corals sometimes. I just bought a. You've got a. Yes, I'm not going to pronounce those. I know what you're talking about. You were talking about my Swiss Guard basslet. I do have a Swiss Guard basslet. It is one of my favourite fish. I think everyone should have one. Every tank should have one. I see it once a week. Every time I see it, it's a delight because it's like a novelty. There's a Swansea basslet, which is a slightly paler version, and then the peppermint basslet would be my ultimate fish. But for now, I'm happy to settle with a Swiss Guard. So I'm not sure what one you have. I will have to Google that, but I don't want to touch anything on the screen because at the moment it's all working. Yeah, you're live. I have to go to class, but I hope you have a good rest of the day. I hope you have a good rest of the day too, Rachel. Who and what inspired you to start the hobby? No one. I have done a video on how I got into the hobby, but basically when I think it was either 4 or 5, my parents were picking up my sister from a friend's house, and I was sitting in the car, and through the window there was this blue glow. And I just thought, like, what is that? So the 4 or 5-year-old version of myself got out of the car, despite the fact I wasn't allowed to. I do loads of things which I was told I wasn't allowed to do when I was younger. And I was just like peering up against the window. And I just remember seeing like a fortress of interwoven corals. I assume they would have been soft corals. They also had a massive blue starfish. And that's my very first memory of a marine tank. And I asked over and over again, could I have a fish tank, could I have a fish tank? And they said I'd never look after it. How wrong were they? Because, I think one of the reasons I've kept it for so long is because my parents said to me, if you don't look after it, well, one day you'll come home and it'll be gone. So because of that, I have done a water change without fail, no matter what, every week, pretty much. I might have occasionally missed 1 week or 2 if I was away or something. But without fail, I've done a water change every week. So that's basically, I was hooked into the hobby from a young age, and that's why the youth, as if I'm like 60, but the people that are sort of 10, 12, 15 that are getting into the hobby now, they are the future of this hobby. So I was at the fish shop the other day and I met a son and his dad. And I listened for quite a long time about the enthusiasm the son had, and even though the dad was maintaining the tank, which is a bit dodgy, but the son was saying it was his tank. I explained to the son that you can't say it's your tank unless you maintain it. But it was so nice to be able to see that same passion of just first entering the hobby, and he was so excited about these brown mushrooms. He was so excited. And like, I mean, fair play. If that's what, I remember being that person, and that's why I love seeing young people in the hobby. Right. Just started my first reef tank, ordered 2 clownfish, got first coral 2 days ago, green star polyps. Green star polyps is a good beginner coral. It can become invasive, so it's generally wise to keep it on a separate piece of rock, or isolated from the main display, because sometimes some people will just have one whole display of green star polyps. Can I buy your gem tank? If you buy my gem tank, all I'm going to do is buy a TV, and that's no good for anyone, is it? Because then I'll do less live streams because I don't need anyone to keep me entertained. I will sit and watch TV, which is that's not good for you, because you could be sitting and watching me instead. It really depends on how much I need for the fish room, basically. Because I love her. I absolutely love her. And people think that I love her because she's an expensive fish, or because other people don't have her, or because she's rarer. But I've just, as I said to you, my favourite fish are Zebrasoma tanks. And the chances are I will never get one again. So, do I want to give that up for a TV, or to essentially move the fish room forward a month? I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how desperate I get. Hi, Josh. Josh is one of my Patreons. He also has bought many corals from me. Josh is actually he is a great guy. Let's put it this way, I like Josh so much that I actually go and deliver the corals to him rather than put them in the post, because I always enjoy meeting him. Your videos have helped me and inspired me to do reef tanks more and more. That's good to hear. That's one of the reasons that I sort of got into this. Like, I did it to help people. And there are channels which are far better than mine, far more professional than mine, and more knowledgeable than mine. I never claim to know everything. But if I can help people, even to some extent, if I can stop people buying box fish for a start, that's a good start. That's a good start. I keep my phosphate at 5 and nitrate at 5 and phosphate at 0.04 to keep everything happy. Yeah, I think that is what they're the levels I plan to. Well, I'm sort of keeping mine at the moment. My phosphate's slightly higher, is 0.08. 0.08. Yes. The Red Sea tank will probably be around that level, because it will have less fish in it, because my fish are obviously packed with fish at the moment. Nick just shat himself, apparently. I think we need a moderator. I know, I'm going to make Nasty Nemo a moderator, because he moderates the Red Sea. There you go. You don't have a choice. You're now officially a moderator. And now everyone else is going to say, I want to be a moderator. But I will make, but Nasty, you have to prove yourself. Nasty Nemo's proven himself many times. I'm so excited to get a piece of that grafted Monty. Look, I've got a great piece just waiting here for you. So the grafted Monty is growing out really nice. I've got 2 pieces which I'm not even as I said, I've kept a piece for myself. But my problem is I'm like a coral hoarder. So as soon as I start growing that one piece for myself, and then I see another piece, I'm like, I want that piece too now. So, but we'll, as I said, Josh, you get like special treatment. So if you want one of the nice pieces, I'm sure I'll be able to sort you out. Nasty Nemo retracted his message. I want to know what that message said now. You can't retract your own messages. My dentist got a reef tank and inspired me as a child. Actually, the other thing I remember seeing, when I was 11 or 12, actually, probably 11 or 12 or maybe even 13, I used to live in Australia. And when my parents moved me to Australia, I remember at Singapore airport, they had a massive reef tank. They actually had 3 reef tanks at the time. They don't have them anymore. And they had loads and loads of regal tanks in it. So it was, isn't it interesting how even though I never had a fish tank, I can remember exactly, no matter what age I was, each time I came across a marine aquarium. So that's obviously shows my passion and love for it. How often do you stream? Well, if you want to know my stream schedule, I did one, I think in October last year with Mindy, and then I did this one. So at the moment it's once a year, but I've just got better internet, which has allowed me to do a live stream. So hopefully I will we'll be doing them more often. Where do you live? If you do not want to get the exact location, how about the close place? I live not far from Brighton. So yeah, I live not far from Brighton, which obviously I live the very south of England. Now I don't know. Oh yeah, because Nasty Nemo's got a piece of my grafted Monty as well. In fact, Nasty Nemo got the very first. No, was it the first? No, maybe the second piece of grafted Monty. Either one or the 2. They were sold days apart that I ever had, that I ever fragged. So again, Nasty Nemo, he got quite a special piece. The pieces that are special, basically, of like you can get pieces where it's like half red and half green, or you can get pieces where it's like green and then the red fills in the rest of it, and then it grows out like that as well. How's the garage conversion going? I did mention it earlier, obviously you might not have heard it because it was at the very beginning. It hasn't progressed at all because unfortunately the builder didn't turn up on Saturday. That's just what happens sometimes. Sometimes it's just people just let you down. The thing is, he didn't, on Sunday when he didn't turn up, he didn't even tell me. And I literally haven't heard from him. No idea why. He's actually a really, really nice guy. And we get on really well. And he has a Malawi cichlid tank. So we sort of bond over that, but for whatever reason, he just didn't turn up. So, but yeah, wish I would live stream somewhere, lots of fish shops. So far my country has one fish shop. If your country only has one fish shop, then you need to start the second fish shop, because you have there is not a lot of competition there. that one fish shop, if he can get enough people buying from him, he's got a monopoly. So you need to start the second one. I would love to come and see the fish room one day. You might not have been here earlier, Josh. I may do a very, very select invitation of certain people who are either Patreons, close friends, people that have helped out with the build, and people that bought coral. And obviously, you fit many of those categories, and also you're not far. So I have no doubt that at some point you will be here. You're like, I'm going to hold you to that now. Nasty Nemo thinks he's coming, but I'm sorry, Nasty, you're not welcome. But the other reason I decided to do a live stream tonight was because it's quite difficult. Being a YouTuber is actually reasonably difficult to do. To churn out content each week, which you try to make interesting, you try to make informative. It takes a lot of time. So what I did is I thought this week I'm going to do a live stream. But the reason I'm doing a live stream this week is because I am, to some extent, struggling with creativity. I essentially have writer's block. I'm not sure what to create the video on next. When I have the Red Sea tank set up, then I've got, that's the other thing, I'm working on that series. So to work on that series, to make sure I can get one video after the next video, I've done a lot of the work for that video already. So that obviously, that basically has taken up a lot of the time. But I'm essentially, I have, how do I put it? It's like writer's impotence. I have creative dysfunction at the moment, and I just can't work out what I can't work out. You have to make something which people are going to enjoy, you have to really believe in what you're creating. So if I just make a video just for the sake of making a video, it's not going to be worth doing. I take this quite seriously. I'm quite passionate, and the people who've met me will know that I'm quite passionate. A lot of people say that I am so different in real life and when I'm live than I am in my videos. And I don't know if you found you found that today. Maybe a bit more relaxed. I actually don't like doing the voiceover or being in the videos. I just don't like it that much. I enjoy the script writing sometimes. I love the filming and the editing, and I love giving people information, and people email me with questions, and I don't mind that. It takes a long time. I get 1,000 messages a week. Basically, and I would say that I reply to probably 98% of them, maybe 95%. And I've got a little bit slower at replying because 1,000 messages is a lot of messages. But as I say, when people need help, I just try my best, basically. Do I have any experience with HANA DKH checkers? Yes, love them. They're life-changing. If you don't have one, go and buy one today. I'm not sponsored by HANA. I bought all my HANA stuff. So some of HANA stuff is excellent. Some of it I've never used. I use I don't use their Salt one. I use a different one. I think a Poseidon. I use a Poseidon Salinity pen, which is pretty good. My tank is going to finish cycling a week. I get a pair of clownfish. How long should I wait before my first coral? And what do you suggest? If this is your very, very first tank ever, I strongly advise that you wait a few months. If not, at least, look, you can put corals in technically the next day after the cycle, technically. It's not about whether your corals will stay alive. It's about your ability to keep these creatures alive. Because remember, these are living creatures that we have taken from the ocean, not in the, or depending if they're frags. Obviously not in the case of clownfish mostly. So we have to respect them. I try and teach people that all the time. People think that marine fish aren't hardy. Marine fish are actually surprisingly hardy, because what we've done is we have collected them off a reef, put them on a boat to a holding facility, who has then bagged them up, put them on a plane, sent them to another holding facility, who's then bagged them up, put them in a van to your fish shop, who's then sat at the fish shop for a period of time, waiting for you to buy them. During that time, they don't get fed, depending on how long they're going to stay there for, because the people who are transporting them don't want waste to be in the bags. So sometimes fish that come to you might not have, when they first come to the fish shop, might not have been fed for a few days, depending on where they're coming from. So these aren't they're not hardy creatures. The creatures that are in our tanks are the survivors. We take them from a pristine ocean and we put them into an environment which is not where they're designed to be. Now, some people might not like me saying this because they like to keep their head in the sand. I'm fully aware of what we do, and so should you be fully aware of what we do. And the reason you should be fully aware of what we do is because you should treat them with respect. The fish are not disposable. Same as with corals. They're not something where, like, if I have a coral die, I don't just replace it with another coral. I want to know why that coral died. And it's the same with fish. Now, unfortunately, I haven't had fish. I haven't lost fish generally for a long time. Other than, as I said earlier, I lost one. When was it? A few weeks ago. But yeah, these, like, you can tell that I'm not quite sure how to express into words. These fish are the survivors. Treat them like champions. Treat them absolutely with respect, and feed them appropriately and change their water appropriately, and do everything you can to look up. You're basically their slave. Like, be their slave. I am the slave to my fish. And don't do things that might be slightly dangerous. Don't go, oh, I'll add a lionfish even though I've got a clownfish, because I'm sure I'll be fine. Because that clownfish is real. It's alive. It has, I'm not quite sure. Well, it's obviously, I'm not sure with regards to its intellect, but it's alive. So we, like, look after your stuff, basically. So when I say, going back to the original question, how long before you put coral in? When I start this tank, coral will go into it very quickly. Does that mean you should put coral in it very quickly? No. It really, really does depend on your level. I know Aaron's aquarium put SPS corals in on day 1, and they're fine. But the average beginner, if you put SPS corals in on day 1, by day, I don't know, 10, they might not be alive anymore. I am far more charismatic on live stream, well, you've obviously met in person, so it was funny. Look, I don't know if Josh minds me telling this. When Josh met me, he was so nervous. He was so nervous when he met me, but he was like, I'm just a normal person, and he will tell you that as well. I am just a completely normal person. I don't think of myself as anyone important. I don't think the fact that I have, like, a set number of subscribers. I am just the same as everyone else. And I'm just someone who loves the hobby and loves sharing with you all. So if you ever do meet me, like, a lot of people send me messages saying, I saw you in a fish shop, but I was too shy to come up. Don't be shy. It doesn't matter to me. Come up and say hello. But yeah, it's, so I'm glad that you think I'm charismatic, Josh. Has anyone had trouble with a type of just grows over small coral? I actually am not even sure what that is. See what I mean by I don't know everything? Garcilaria? I'll have to Google that, because I like to expand my knowledge, so I'll be interested in what that is. I have a feeling that I know what it is, but I can't say for certain. So Has changed your life? Yes, it changed mine as well. I have one mate wondering how accurate been waiting to drop from that started the day's Triton but not budging. I would say they were very accurate, if I'm honest, Josh. I would say that the hand checkers are they're reasonable. Let's put it say the hand checker would be more accurate than me doing say a Salifit test. But if you're ever not sure, if you do a test and then you test again, like no one ever tests when the results come out correctly. No one ever tests again. But when the results come out wrong, you then obviously naturally test twice. But if you're not sure, I would just double check. And then if it comes out the same results and you're still not sure, get someone who does have a test kit, like a Salifit one, to do it for you. I don't like to do this too often, but I've got 51 people watching, 29 likes. If you want to help the channel, click the like button. I mean, look, I'm a bit sneaky. I click my own like button because if I'm not gonna like it, who else is? But yeah. So if you oh look, 33, that's gone up already. See, sometimes you just need reminding. It's the same with subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, just subscribe. So occasionally I put out marginally interesting content. We're keeping animal, guys. It killed me if we lose this thing. Good. That's how it should be. Your eco and respect views are great, and I think that your channel USP. That is your channel USP. Would I say that I was unique amongst other people? I would say that lots of the YouTubers care for their hobby. Care for the hobby, yeah, but care for the animals they keep. It's nice that you've said that, and I'm glad that it comes across. It doesn't always, go down favourably with people because not everyone has the same views that I have. That's madness. Are your corals still growing? Are my corals still growing? I can't remember what I said that made you ask that question, I'm afraid, Josh. Either way, my corals are still growing. I'm glad you've had over a year's experience with freshwater tank before starting a reef. That's good. Freshwater tanks can occasionally get you into bad habits, but it is good that you've had at least some experience. I would still start with fish, and then I would try a soft coral. So I would wait a couple of months. Look, nothing happens in this hobby quickly. This hobby is very, very very slow hobby. I remember when I first started the hobby, I added one fish a month. And that was it. These days, people go and add a fish a week, or 2 or 3 fish. But yeah, 1 fish a month. And it worked well for me because when payday came around, I bought a fish. And it was like my little reward. Getting a tusk grass for a reef tank, did you have any experience with this fish? If you're talking about Harlequin tusk, there are people that do keep Harlequin tusk in reef tanks. They have a large bioload, so you need to watch out for that. And they will eat your inverts if you have any, but I'm assuming that you would know that if you're going down this route. Start with a small one and you'll be fine. But yeah, they're a great fish to have in a reef tank, providing you have the right setup for it. Try another testing method in my advice and compare it. Red Sea Alk is great. I actually do have the Red Sea alkalinity test. I have all the Red Sea tests. I haven't used them yet, but I'm going to. Out of interest, where are you based? I am not far from Brighton. Is normal? Well, normal is a big word. I'm certainly not normal. He'll talk to anyone. Not you. Not you, Nasty Nemo. Ugh. Ah, yes! Aaron's Aquarium's here. You finally get to see me do this. You turned up last time, and now I'm sure the internet will cut out. You've missed so much, Michael. I'm really looking forward to seeing you soon, obviously at Coral Freaks. We will need to find wherever the nearest Indian restaurant is to go out on our second date. You never called me after our first date. I get the feeling that's probably something to do with the wife. But yeah, so you're obviously I'm now like nervous because you're like the king of doing this. Although Rico might not like it if I tell you're the king, but you can be like the combined kings of live streams. But I'm trying my best. What are your views on captive breeding fish? If you can get captive bred fish, by all means, people should have them. I would never buy a wild caught clownfish or wild caught Bango cardinals because they're just everywhere. It's more of an issue of getting hold of them. Basically, it's not I know they've captive bred many fish now, purple tangs and yellow tangs, even mandarins. I'm pretty sure coral beauties are on that list. I know someone captive bred flame angels as well, but there's just their availability in the UK is just not that much. What black magic is this? Ryan is live. One day we'll do a live stream together. I have no idea how to do that. You would have to show me how to do that. But one day we'll do a live stream together. He must have put his hand in his pocket. What? I was in. Yeah, I got proper internet. Aaron's coming. Ryan gave you a shout out earlier. I always give him a shout out. My internet speed at the new house. So at the old house, my internet speed was literally 1 megabyte. Now it's 70 megabytes. So my internet is now 70 times faster. It has been life-changing. So it wasn't that I was tight before, Michael. It's that I live in the middle of nowhere, so I couldn't get better internet than what I had. How do you become a millionaire from selling corals? Be a billionaire. True. That is so true. That's true. Reef Girl's here. Thank you very much, Reef Girl. Reef Girl is another one of the people, it's one of my patrons who always looks after me. Reef Girl, as I said earlier, I will have a, I mean, you're a little bit far away, but if you're ever in the UK, you are more than welcome to come here. You have a permanent invitation, even to stay in my house. Now, I need to get a second bed, because I'm sure your partner would, this has come out so wrong, but I only have one bed at the moment, so I have to get a second bed before you arrive. But if ever you come to the UK, you let me know. You have a permanent place here because you are one of the nicest people. And again, if you don't follow Reef Girl's channel, go and follow it. Same with Aaron's Aquarium, same with Nasty Nemo. All the YouTubers, they appreciate it when you click that like button or the subscribe button, whether they say it or not. It means a lot. And although Michael's a bit rough around the edges, pretends he doesn't care, I know he cares. So, your thoughts on aluminium leaching problem with Marine Pure blocks? I've been using Marine Pure for a long time. I also have had my water ICP tested. I've never had an issue, is the honest answer. I think I have 2 blocks in my main display tank. I've never had an issue with it. So as far as I know, with regards to me, it doesn't affect me. Reef Girl, 2 favorite reef YouTubers. Reef Girl, love your channel. I have a newfound respect for anyone that does live streams. As I said, I'm not particularly good at reading. But fortunately, you've all been pretty nice tonight, and the chat's not been going too quickly. When I see on Michael's live stream sometimes, it's like. But that's usually me just trolling him, and he just ignores me. So I have a purple tang that's recently eaten the feelers off both my skunk shrimp. You have a mean purple tang. I have never heard of that before. That must be a huge purple tang or some tiny skunk shrimp. Tangs do go rogue. I've heard of tangs eating coral before as well, so I'm not entirely surprised. He's so nice, isn't he? It's all an act. It's all an act. You know me in real life, so I'm going to give you a fist bump. There you go. Although I'm not even sure, I haven't read the chat, so I don't know if that's for me or not. But there's your fist bump. I love visiting the UK. Might plan to do so soon. Not too soon. Not too soon. As I said, I haven't got the bedroom set up. But when you're ready, you let me know. How big is my main display tank? I have a 6-foot main display tank, which is 1,000 litres. I've had that tank running, I think, for 5 or 6 years now. But the cycle I did on that tank, because each time I've upgraded, was 11 years ago. So I've not cycled a tank for 11 years, and that is why I'm half looking forward to. I'm actually reasonably nervous about the Red Sea tank as well, because I have to start from the beginning, like the very, very beginning. And things do go wrong. Even with experienced YouTubers, things go wrong. Not YouTubers, experienced aquarists, things go wrong. And I am, when things go wrong for me, I have to show everyone. So I'm also going to be doing, I'm going to be doing things not necessarily 100% what people would normally be doing. So I will be putting SPS corals in probably like very, very quickly after the cycle, if not from day one, which is not going to be the average thing that people do. We shall see. Because part of the reason I want to do it is to show to do like a beginner series, but I also want it to be a really nice tank as well. So it's hard to do a beginner series with like some high-end corals, if you see what I mean. But I'm sure I'll try and get the balance right. The tank that I currently have is, some of you will know this, is the majority of that tank is filled with SPS corals. So, and very few LPS corals. Whereas with this tank, I really want it to be like a mixed reef. So I want to get some nice soft corals in there. I want to get some nice LPS corals. I've already got some of the corals for it. I've got some like stunning Trachyphilias. I've got some really, really nice Trachyphilias, which I've not showed anyone because I've been keeping them secret. But I've had them for so long because I've had this tank since December. So I always knew I was going to set it up. So what I've essentially been collecting corals and not showing anyone so that when I do show you don't go, oh, they're just the corals from your old tank. So yeah, not months, but maybe sometime in 2020. 2020, that's next year. That's not that long ago. That's not that far away. Haven't had a marine tank before. What are some good beginner fish? I have actually done a video on beginner fish. Which is, I've done a video on beginner fish for small tanks and large tanks. They're probably worth watching because they'll be, I go into it more in depth on there than I would now. So I would send you over to that. I think Michael has also done a video on beginner fish. So if you don't watch Aaron's Aquarium, because seriously, who does? Far more people than watch me. But if you don't watch Aaron's, if you don't watch, has it just stopped? Oh, am I back? Oh, I'm back. Sorry, as I said, I'm doing this on my iPhone and it's about to run out of battery. So I've only got 20% left, so I'm going to have to wrap this up probably within the next 10 minutes. But what was I saying? I knew it's still on dial-up internet. Why are you always trolling me? Does anyone know how many reefers are in the UK? I think there's only estimated to be 1 million reefers in the whole world. Unfortunately, I have to go. And the reason I have to go is because for some reason, the person who's looking after, I'm not going to lie, for some reason my mum's calling me at whatever time it is now, and there must be a reason for that. And the only reason she would ever call me at this time now is because something's wrong with the tank. So I'm going to cut this very short. It was a pleasure talking to you all. I will hopefully do this more often. Thank you for everyone who used the super chat. Thank you for everyone that came, and I will speak to you all later.